Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Hail Yes podcast. I am your host, Hailey Gamba. How is everyone doing today? I am recording this episode on Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I am having the best day so far. Now, a little bit about me. I like to create a cute little itinerary for myself every Valentine's Day because I am such a romantic. And although I do not have a Valentine this year, and even when I do have one, I still like to do something for myself. But although I do not have one this year, I want to do all of the romantic things like buy myself flowers and get myself gifts. So that's exactly what I did, along with doing some self-care activities today. I really want to eat sushi on the couch and watch a movie. So I'm really looking forward to that. But for those listening, I hope that you guys had an amazing Valentine's Day, whether it was with your partner or with your friends or by yourself. I am praying that you guys had some sort of love being spread throughout your day. And if you didn't have the best day, I'm hoping that you can have a better day today. I'm a big believer in really making your life the best to your ability. And I enjoy little cute holidays like this because it reminds me of all of the things that I'm grateful for, along with just pouring into myself because for many years, I just didn't. I was not a believer in creating the love that I was seeking, so I would just complain about it. But the older that I get, I really find such importance in pouring into myself and giving myself the love that I want to receive. And I was even reflecting the other day about how at times I will think about how I don't have everything in my life that I've wanted. Then I say, Hailey, don't be ungrateful now. You actually have everything you've wanted and everything that you've prayed for. It just was packaged a little bit differently. I am still searching for my forever partner, but I received that love in my friendships. I've received that love in my familial relationships. And I have everything that I could ever dream of in love, in life, in career, in family, and I'm not going to allow myself to forget that. I was on my call with my life coach yesterday, and we were talking about so many different things, and it kind of inspired today's episode. And one of the things that we talked about was how I felt discriminated against when I was going for job interviews in the hair business prior to starting my YouTube channel. Now, what inspired me talking about this today was I wanted to obviously mention Happy Black History Month, and we were kind of discussing Black history and little things here and there, and I was kind of giving her my own Black experience that I think really changed my life for the better. And I actually used the discrimination that I experienced to my advantage. And of course, not every Black experience has to be a negative experience, but I really find that this is an inspirational story because it was me navigating certain life hurdles that had nothing to do with me and had everything to do with biases and racism and possibly even sexism. And I transmuted those experiences to my benefit and created the best life for myself. I'm not 100% sure if I discussed this in detail in my podcast episode that was about God dragging me to my purpose, but if I didn't mention it in detail, I am going to today. A little bit about me, if you're a new listener, I have been doing YouTube 10 years. And I would say I've been consistently doing it since 2019, where I've been doing it as a career since then. And prior to that year, I went to cosmetology school. I was also in college on and off, so I was definitely figuring out my life. And when I was in cosmetology school, I was so passionate about hair and makeup. It was something that I really enjoyed and really loved. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to take that career in the future, but I knew that I was really good at it and I really enjoyed it. So much so that there's something at Paul Mitchell, which is the school that I went to, and it's called Phase 2. And Phase 2 is a thing that you try out for. And essentially you get more clients in the daytime at the school and you get to do more hands-on things rather than book work. So it's something that you try out for. You have to do 3 different hairstyles and then your instructor picks a select number of people to be in Phase 2. And I was picked. I was so proud. I was so happy. And I got into this I guess it's like a more upper program in the Paul Mitchell. And in phase 2, you get to experience so many things. Like I actually went to New York City and got to do hair and makeup for a Betsy Johnson fashion show. It was really cool. It was an amazing experience and I loved it. I say all that to say that I'm going to give myself the credit. I am very good at hair and makeup. In comparison to my classmates, I was pretty good. I'm not going to put down anybody that I was in school with because I think everybody was amazing at what they did, but I was really good at what I did. And when it came time for us to start interviewing and trying out for positions at salons, I was so excited. There was a specific salon that I drove past all the time, and it was in a really nice area in Jersey. And I remember saying that when I get the chance, I am going to knock on that door and essentially get the job of my dreams. That was something that I manifested. I remember being so excited to essentially try out and hopefully they would select me. Because when you do get hired for a hair position, a lot of the times it's not just a sit-down interview, but it's a sit-down interview that you then have to try out doing a hair wash situation on someone and then blowing it out so they could see your skills. I remember I went to that interview, I put on my best face, I articulated myself well, I showed my skills, they seemed really happy with it, and they didn't end up hiring me. I remember trying to contact them a few times just to remind them of my name and everything, and I think I just chalked it up to maybe they're not hiring right now, maybe they don't need any new people. So I remember putting in my application at multiple different salons in the area. And a little background about me, I am half Italian, half Black, and I went to a school in my very white town. And what I had realized after completing school was that I absolutely loved, and by loved, I mean loved, doing balayage, doing haircuts, and doing blowouts. That was like what I was good at. So although I am Black and I love doing my own hair and I love actually doing Black hair, a lot of my friends come to me and will ask me to blow out their hair and I will do like a full silk press on them. I do that to this day. Can you believe it? I do. But at the time, I remember I really wanted to embark on the journey of practicing my skills in balayage, cuts, color, and just blowouts. So in the town I grew up in the town I went to school in, that was mostly done on white women's hair or women with silkier hair texture. So being that that was the case, of course, I'm going to interview at places that do those types of services. Now, I think that my own confidence really did not allow me to realize that I was going to face some challenges. And granted, I did not grow up in a household where we didn't talk about these things. My mother always raised me to embrace my Black side and to love it and would teach me about racism and would teach me about people's biases and how people stereotype people. And I wasn't raised in an ignorant household by any means. But I think my mother always went the route of, hyping me up and making me feel important rather than trying to hinder me, which I really do appreciate. I just think that there's some parts of me that would have liked to been prepared for what was to come. Not realizing that even my high school experience and my middle school experience, although I had faced some random comments and weird things throughout my life, for the most part, I felt pretty accepted in multiple spaces, and I was a very adaptable kid. I was a part of many different circles, white, Black, Hispanic, and I was liked amongst all of them. And I had a melting pot of a town. Although it was a mostly white town and community, the people that were Black, that were Hispanic, or were brown would be able to intermingle within the white groups very naturally. It wasn't cliquey, and it wasn't something that we were like shunned from. I say all that to say that I was very ignorant and naive to what was to come when it pertained to getting a job. When I was going to all these salons, I was like, man, they must not be hiring. They must not need me, whatever and whatnot. And I'm still going into it very optimistic and eager and excited. Now, keep in mind, I had started my YouTube channel as soon as I graduated high school, which was in 2015. And this year, the year that I was in cosmetology, the year that I was trying out for job positions, I believe was 2018. So it was a few years after I started my channel. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I was in cosmetology school, I really didn't have much time to take YouTube seriously. I was there from sunup to sundown all year, and I was exhausted. It was just such a hard time in my life. It was so hard that I even mentally block it out now as an adult. Like, I actually sometimes forget that I even did. I remember wanting to be a YouTuber. It was always my dream. It was always my passion, but I also loved hair. And I always said to myself, okay, well, in the meantime, while you're growing your channel, you can do hair. You can become someone who is good at this. I was also extension certified. So I had went through a whole class to be certified in eye tips and in tape-ins. So at this point, I'm walking into all these salons with the certifications and with the knowledge. And even though I'm fresh out of school, I find that my skills were pretty good. I would never get the job. I was constantly being met with no's. No, 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 no. I remember feeling slightly defeated, but I didn't want to stop because I believed in myself and I didn't want to believe that this was a discrimination issue. The final straw for me was when I had to drive about 30 minutes away from my home. And it was this salon that was in a very diverse town. It was a blowout bar, but it was in a part of town that had a lot of different people walking in and out of the salon. Black, white, Hispanic, everyone in between. So I thought, okay, maybe this type of salon would really embrace me and like me. And it was a really hard day for me because my car was in the shop because I had hit a deer a few weeks prior and it completely tore out the whole under part of my car. So I had to get that completely repaired and that was going to take weeks. And the only car that I was able to drive was my parents' very old GMC Denali. And this car was so old that the air conditioning was just not working at the time. And it was a very hot day and I had to drive 30 minutes to this particular salon to try out for my demo day, I guess, where I show them that, I can blow out hair and whatever. And they actually provided me with someone to do this on. A lot of the other salons require you to bring like a model of your own, like whether it's like your parent or your friend or whatever. So I drive there, I'm sweating my ass off the whole way to the salon because it was so hot out. It was muggy. It was just not a good day, but I was so eager and excited. I wanted to put my best foot forward and show up and be happy and be joyous. So I get in, they seemed really accepting and understanding. I blew out someone's hair. They loved it. They said, okay, thank you so much for doing that. Can we actually keep you for a few more hours and you can do some more hair washes and blowouts throughout the day? And I was so happy to do it. I'm like, oh my God, that was so sweet. Like they must have really liked the work that I did. Let me keep going. And so I kept blowing out hair. I kept washing hair. And a few hours later, I ended up getting released and I was able to go home. And I will never freaking forget this, guys. I'm driving home. Again, remember, it's hot as heck outside. I don't have AC in the car and it's a 30-minute drive. And I'm halfway back to home and they email me and say, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate your work today, but we will not be taking you on. Guys, that was it for me. It felt like God completely shielded me from this experience and told me it's time for you to take the direction that I have designed for you. And that was to pursue my passion and go full throttle in YouTube. I had faced what was seemingly discrimination because it should not have been that hard for me to get a job. And I didn't really have that much proof that that was what was happening to me, but I felt the energy. I'm very discerning and clairvoyant, and I have like these feelings that somebody possibly feels that way about me. And I was talking about it with my life coach because a little fun fact, my life coach used to be one of my instructors at my cosmetology school. I was sharing this experience with her and she validated my experience and she said, I want you to know that what you're saying is true. You were discriminated against. You were such an amazing student and you were so good at hair. It should not have been that hard for you to get a job. And she had told me about some of the side conversations that she would hear in the hair business, especially side conversations that were happening in white salons. And it totally validated my own personal feelings on the matter. It really kind of closed that chapter for me because for many years, I always felt that whenever I would sense weird energy, that I would pivot to what made me feel good. And I noticed that a lot of people around me would always try to like gaslight me into not believing my own feelings. So they would go, that's not what happened, or, oh, just keep trying, keep doing this. But in that moment, it was so much more. It was so big, the energy that I felt and the spirit that I felt from God, that I knew I needed to navigate the journey of YouTube and take matters into my own hands when it pertained to my career, rather than allowing a person determine my fate. This is a little tiny story about my very interesting Black experience, but I want you guys to view it from the perspective of a blessing and not a hindrance, because although it was trying to make me feel bad about myself, what it actually did was allow me to see my self-worth even better. And I took the route that was more designed for me. I took the route that was better for me financially. And the life I have now is the life beyond my wildest dreams. And I get to say that I'm the one who built it for myself, because I didn't let a person who I had to earn their respect or earn their likings, I didn't have to make that person be the reason for my blessings. I am the very reason. And I didn't let it stop me. And I want anybody listening who feels different, whether it's that you're Black and brown and you're in communities that don't accept you, or you're a woman in male fields, or you're just experiencing some pushback because you have a disability or because you aren't super well versed in something, I want you guys to know that what you are meant and designed to do will be for you, and never ignore the signs. You are destined for greatness. You just have to believe it. And I never allowed this experience to make me hate myself, or to make me not believe in myself, or to make me even hate others. I recognize that these particular behaviors in people stem from ignorance. They stem from fear, and they are not for me to figure out. But what I did pour into and what I did find importance in was what I needed to figure out within myself. And that was for me to stop selling myself short, always shoot for the stars, and to always go after what I want. I really wanted to discuss today how to maintain your manifestations, because honestly, we as women are very, very, very good at manifesting. We're very good at getting what we want, whether it's something that we seek and we get ourselves, or it's something that we receive from others. We are very good at manifesting something, even if it's as small as getting your nails done, getting your hair done. And let's just say you don't have much money, but some way, somehow you figured it out and you're able to get that appointment. And, or let's just say it's a specific goal or a career situation. You're always checking these things off. We're really good at that as women. But something that isn't discussed enough is once you receive that blessing, once you receive that manifestation, can you maintain it? Can you maintain the life that's attached to that goal? And that was something that I never even thought about. Something that is a theme in my life is I've never been given things too early. A lot of the things that I have that are sustainable and luxurious and special in my life, I had to earn. And I'm not saying that I had to earn it from someone actually, but more so earn spiritually. It needed to align. It needed to be something that I worked for. And I'm really grateful for that, because although I do believe that some people receive things quicker than others, that particular situation would not be in my favor. Receiving something too quick would only leave me ungrateful and feeling undeserving. I also think that I would be not as knowledgeable and I wouldn't have the know-how. I have found that preparation to receive a manifestation is the best way to maintain it. Whether it's a new car, a home, a job, a relationship, whatever it is that you are personally manifesting, preparing for it will allow the maintenance for it to be easy. Now, the reason that this even came up in my mind was I was scrolling on TikTok and I stumbled upon a creator discussing how women are good at, manifesting, like I had said, but that they're not good at maintaining it. And you really have to stop and think before you're making a purchase or before you're making a move. Can I maintain this thing? And she had used the example of buying a luxury vehicle. And she said, okay, it's one thing to buy the Porsche, but can you maintain the services that go into it? If a tire pops, can you afford a tire? If you need to run diagnostics because a light showed up on the dash, can you afford the diagnostics? Can you afford if something goes wrong? Or if you buy a home, it's one thing to be able to afford a down payment or to afford the home monthly, but can you afford the home if something were to happen, like a pipe burst, or you needed to replace something? And these are all things to carefully consider before you're taking that leap, because a lot of the times we can afford the initial payment of something, but it's the maintenance of it that actually we are unprepared for. And I have leaned into this a lot further the older I get, because for many years, having luxury things was very important to me, but for the wrong reasons. I wanted to seem like I had it together. I wanted to look the part. But what I realized the older I got was I don't want to look the part. I want to be the part. I want to be the person who can actually maintain this lifestyle. And I always can tell when people are uneducated on certain things because they just think that certain things come easy. I actually had somebody comment on my Instagram. I had shown that I got a brand new car, which I did. I got a new Range Rover. I had one prior, but I wanted to get a bigger one. And I was discussing why I had gotten the one that I got and why I waited and the interest rates and all of this. And somebody had commented to me and they said, you should have just gotten the newest one. It looks better. I know that that was kind of like a hateful, stupid comment, but to break it down to someone who just doesn't understand maintenance, I am not purchasing a vehicle that when I ran the numbers and I spoke to my car guy was going to cost me $2,300 a month. That to me sounded ridiculous. I can imagine to some people who don't know anything about money or don't know anything about maintenance, they don't realize what they're even saying. And granted, yes, there are people who can afford that with ease. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't want to afford that. I don't want to spend almost my mortgage on my car every month. That is crazy. My mortgage is pretty close to that. Okay. And I am not doing that. So I always ask myself in my grown ass woman life, can I and do I want to maintain this? Because it's one thing to get that one-time purchase, but it's another thing if you can't maintain that purchase. And the older I've gotten, the more that I have gotten more aligned with my finances and realized the things that actually are important to me and what luxuries I am willing to maintain and that I can maintain with ease. These are all things that you have to sit down, think about, and prepare for. That is how you get closer towards being a person who actually is who you say you are. Because it's one thing to have a showy life and another thing to be able to pay your taxes, to be able to maintain that life, to be able to afford if something goes wrong, to be able to stand up if you didn't receive a payment and still make sure that you're okay. Do you have savings? These are all things to consider. And honestly, I love my parents. This is not a dig at them, but they did not teach me these things in intricate detail. And I had to learn a lot of this on my own. So take it from a woman who knows. Be very careful and mindful about what you're manifesting and ask yourself, am I financially ready to maintain that? And am I even mentally ready to receive that? Now, on the note of being mentally ready. Another thing that we could manifest and not be ready to receive. So to maintain that manifestation is going to actually take inner work. I believe that that is relationships, right? We can manifest relationships for ourselves, but you really have to ask yourself, what is the maintenance on that particular relationship? So if you're manifesting a perfect partner and you want him to make a certain amount of money, to look a certain way, to be a certain way, ask yourself, can I actually receive that with ease and not have any type of limiting beliefs? Am I going to feel like that's aligned with who I am? Is that going to be something that I'm comfortable with? And that is how you're going to receive your blessing and you're going to be able to maintain it. For many years, I was manifesting a partner that I had no business manifesting because I was not the woman that would receive that manifestation. I still had to unlearn unhealthy patterns. I still had to become a better communicator. I still needed to actually live my life and explore before settling down. I needed to lose things in order to be able to see why they were important in the first place. A lot of the times, there's a lot of lessons that are packed in our failures, our shortcomings, and in our trauma that we need to learn before we receive blessings and manifestations. So I am confidently able to say now that I can maintain a healthy relationship because I have been giving myself the healthy relationship that I need from someone all on my own. I have been talking to myself better. I have been living the life that I require from someone else. I have been working hard and really being better in my friendships and relationships that I have currently. And I think that now I am better than ever and able to receive it and maintain it with ease. That can also go for a certain job position that you want. Let's just say, you want to quit your job and become a business owner. Do you have the grit and resilience of a person who can run their own business? Are you going to be able to wake up every day and make decisions and hold yourself accountable and stay disciplined? Or is that going to be something that's difficult for you? This is something that you have to consider so that when you do receive that blessing and that manifestation, that you are prepared for it. I'm hoping that this gives you guys something to think about. And for me, I do sit down and think about these things. I think that they are a great way to get to know yourself better and to figure out where you can improve. I have so much improving to do still. I will always have to have some sort of self-improvement until the day I die. But I really love this new version of myself who makes more sound decisions and pauses and thinks. When I had wanted that $2,300 car, I did actually take some time to think about it. Where back in the day, I would impulse buy or try to be show offy, or anything that I did was always like fueled by my ego. Where now I do make more sound decisions and I don't make any decision too early. I allow myself to sit on it and be ready for it and prepare for it. And let's just say I decide that I don't want that thing and I want something lesser than, or I want something that's more aligned. I always end up getting it and then it feels so much better. It's like a weight is lifted off my chest. Whenever you guys manifest, start manifesting becoming the person who gets it. Start manifesting being able to maintain that blessing, that job, that man, that new life pivot, that body, that luxury gift you get yourself, whatever it is, try to manifest being able to maintain it, because that will teach you more than anything. That will teach you how to become the person who receives it, the person who understands it, the person who can do what needs to get done. I also believe that when we are maintaining our manifestations, we also have to understand that it's important that we have the qualities of someone who navigates failures better, who is more resilient and has grit when going through these particular peaks and valleys in your life. Giving up is not an option. Just moving forward and pivoting and doing something more aligned is the better solution. So take all of that into consideration when you are doing something for yourself. And also remind yourself that if you're manifesting something and you have a strong desire for something, it was placed within you by God. It was given to you already. You already have it. You just now need to learn how to maintain it. And that just takes knowledge. It takes patience. It takes resilience. And those are the things that are going to drive forward all of the things needed to be the person who keeps what you've earned. I hope that this episode served you well. I know it was kind of all over the place. I really loved sharing my story with you guys. Happy Black History Month, everyone. I really think that it's important that we as people, and whether you're Black or you're just a person of color or you're a minority or you're from an oppressed group, that you share your stories. They are so important, and it really just highlights that we are not alone, that we experience these little things and nobody's story is bad. It's not too little. It should be expressed, it should be spoken about, and it should be embraced. And I love hearing other people's stories about their lives and what they went through and their shortcomings and their failures and the things that they faced, because it proves that it is important to keep pushing on, because we all have a story, we all have experienced something. But that doesn't mean that we should give up. That doesn't mean that we should hate ourselves. That doesn't mean that we should sell ourselves short. We are all destined for greatness, and we are all brought onto this earth by God. And I am going to use every minute on this earth for good. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you guys had a wonderful Valentine's Day. I'm going to now spend mine just pouring into myself. I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Pioneer.